Okay, I'm not quite sure where this review will be going for a few reasons, because it took me like 3 years to finally get one thing. Maybe sometimes trying less hard will make it able for me to enjoy things even more, and therefore I mean reviewing devices. And don't maybe see this kind of as the reference, because I decided to do one thing. I won't do full proper 12-minute plus reviews for devices like, for example, the Sony Xperia XA, when I think they're just not worth it. And yes, I said sorry. And I don't think this device is bad, because it has a lot of really nice solid specs, and the experience overall would have been good if they wouldn't have decided to tank it with at least one of two of them screwing up completely. At least one really badly. But I'm trying to make this a little bit of a different approach. Maybe in the end you can tell me if you like it more or not, but please keep in mind that it maybe will be a little bit more negative because of this device. This will not be a general approach, and I am not a Sony hater. And if you think so, then why not just leave the channel? I would say let us go to the design and build quality. I have to say I absolutely love this for a few reasons. First of all, the polycarbonate feels really nice. It's also quite grippy. I have a little bit of sweaty hands, and that makes it a little bit hard, especially here for the quite slippery sides, but they feel amazing. We still have some nice curves, not too much pronounced, but I love that. Especially what I love is the button position here. The power button sits just right, along with the volume rocker slightly beneath that, and the dedicated camera button. Here we have the NFC logo, LED, and the camera. Here we have a microphone, headphone jack. Here we have underneath this flap SD card and SIM card tray, micro USB, another microphone, and the speaker. Here we have the camera, of course, the sensors and so on, with a notification LED. It is multicolored, but I think definitely the highlight is look at how narrow this device is. That's just amazing. Look at this, pretty much no bezel. But unfortunately this comes with a few trade-offs, a few compromises. But before I'm going to get to the display, I have to say I absolutely love the design. I love the in-hand feel. One-hand usability was absolutely pretty much close to perfect. Yeah, I have to say Sony did a perfect job here, almost perfect, because it is so thin and light and small because of a few trade-offs. But just in terms of that, without judging the rest, this is one of the best made phones from Sony, but also in general. Now let's get to that display, which I think is a little bit of one of those compromises I've talked about, because to achieve these small bezels, they had to go for a 720p display, which doesn't have to be something bad, but for the price of around 300 euros, I would simply expect a 1080p by now, and the quality on its own isn't awesome. It's solid display, it's nice, because the white point is definitely where it has to be. We have the white balance control, we have a solid black, it still has quite some IPS glow, and one thing that is maybe even more so unfortunate, as you can maybe see here, the viewing angles, because if I shift to this side, the picture will get very warm. Not quite so visible here on the video, but if I switch to this, it will get warm, and if I switch to this, it will get cold. So maybe it is visible, but I can't really show this off because it is rotating right now. The colors on its own are a little bit more towards the natural side, because comparing it to the Xperia X performance, you will definitely see that this kind of feels washed out, even though it's more accurate, because for some reason the Xperia X performance seems like on radioactive colors. But I actually enjoy these, and it's already starting to slow down, but no, usually the performance is fine. Maximum brightness was top solid, so the display on its own is nice, but 1080p with a little bit of a higher quality would have been better, because the viewing angles aren't perfect and the overall qualities are just about slightly above average, but still, that is not the issue. But one thing that I think is, and that's the speaker here, for example. And yes, this is full volume. Sorry, but the only thing that I have to say about the speaker, it's pathetic. It's pretty much just about good enough for notifications, but if you want to enjoy this for just a YouTube video or so on, it's not that great. The sound on its own is okay. It's a little bit on the weaker side. There's just no bass at all, but it's clear enough, and the quality on its own is good. And so many people tell me you made way too much emphasis on the volume. But what is the best speaker good for if you can't hear anything? And that is just one of my gripes. The bottom firing speaker position isn't a problem for me, but it is just not loud enough. And the same goes also for the volume rocker, for the headphone jack, because even that one is just not loud enough. Quality would have been good, and we have some optimizations here, some tweaks and so on. But once again, if I can't get the volume that I want to, the best quality isn't good enough. And so many people tell me I'm audiophile. I don't need high volume. I just want to enjoy music. Then it's okay. but I personally won't give it that. Now let's talk about the performance. And here, no, I'm not gonna complain here at all about, because I really like what the Helios P10 did. No apps are preloaded, so let's check how they start. And here I'm totally fine. As you can see here, apps start quite okay. No problems here at all, and the device feels very, very snappy and zippy. As you can see here, I can switch between apps absolutely fine. It doesn't work right now because I have so super sweaty hands, but the overall performance is top solid. Maybe not always the fastest launch times, but once they are, and with even those 2 GB RAM, it works out fine, because as you can see here, Chrome works absolutely buttery smooth. Same goes also for the older render app engine. And yes, it struggles sometimes a little bit, but the normal experience is totally fine. For the price range, totally acceptable. I wouldn't really expect anything more here, because I was fully satisfied. In normal day-to-day use, I got the performance that I wanted to. This is absolutely nice here. Multitasking was fine. I could use a lot of apps because the system is quite as minimal. And also the gaming performance was really surprisingly good. I guess mostly due to just having 720p to push, it performed really, really well. Yes, it got quite warm, and I guess at some point it will throttle, but not enough that I really bother, so I'm good with that. So now let's get to one big of the problems. Doesn't matter. Charging time, 1 hour and 35, sounds top, sounds like a super quick charge device, but considering the tiny battery here, this is good, definitely still good. But then there is the battery life, and I actually did one thing. I've used this phone for already like 3 or 4 days, and something was completely wrong, I thought, because I just got about a screen on time of 2 hours. I completely reset the phone, reinstalled all apps manually, because so many people already on my Xperia E5 review told me that I was doing something wrong, and I thought the same. But even after doing everything manually, checking that everything is fine, I didn't really manage to get much more. The highest that I ever reached was 2 hours and 50. Then I reached something at around 2 hours and 20, 2 hours and 30, which is still absolutely not acceptable, absolutely not okay. And I just used a brightness of 35%, so didn't really task it too much, but it was an issue that is actually known on the internet. The standby drain seems to be very bad. Yes, there is an issue, and no, I corrected that, because there are forums there. There is an issue with location and wireless scanning and all that. I figured that out, I already covered that, but it didn't really help so much. On Wi-Fi I could have got maybe 3.5, sometimes maybe even 4 hours, but once I was on data only, it drained like crazy. So all I have to say, the battery life is terrible. Now let's talk about the camera, and here they made a quite nice job, if not for one thing, but I will get to that in just a few seconds. Selfie game is really nice because it has a really sharp shooter. It focuses really quite nice. Color balance, sharpness, exposure, everything is fine. Can't say anything bad about it. It's absolutely solid for this price range, definitely top. Low light capabilities were actually surprisingly good, because everything was, it picked up a lot of light. Sometimes it maybe got a little bit too far overexposed, but still, I have to say, low light capabilities are absolutely solid. And once we go outside, the only complaint here I have is still the blue ring of death, but more of death of annoyance. And I'm not talking about something like on the Xbox where we had the trouble that it burns down, but no. It was just super slow. Every time you take a picture, you see the spinning circle, and it just takes a lot of time to process, no matter what you do, even with superior auto modus on, I think, 8 or 13 megapixels. It wasn't quite what I expected to be. So this is definitely a caveat, because the pictures, once you have a steady hand, turn out possibly really, really nice. I still think that the software optimization here on the process could be a little bit better. But if you get a nice picture, you get that. But you have to live with one thing. That is that you just can't shoot too many pictures in a quick time. Video was also totally solid, absolutely no problems here. Sharp, good autofocus, can't really say anything. It didn't overheat, which is, no, I don't want to say surprising, but okay, let's not take this any further, because I didn't want this to make a full review, and then I actually did. But since I said I don't know how it will turn out, so let me get to the crux of this. It costs 300 euros here in Germany still, and for this, it's just not okay. In terms of design, it's absolutely worth that. For you could charge 500 just in terms of design, but like I said, the trade-offs are the super tiny battery, therefore terrible battery life, and the not that great display, which I wouldn't have with an issue, but you still have to consider one thing. You can get 1080p displays with an even better quality. In this price range, speaker is completely bollocks. Sorry, that is not good enough. And the performance would have been fine. So if you are someone who really takes puts the most emphasis on a great design with a solid performance, a top camera, or I would say definitely very good camera, with a solid display, yeah, sure, go for it. But if you are someone who puts a lot of emphasis on value and overall good qualities, then I just can't recommend this for 300, because the battery life should be way better, display should be a little bit better, and the speaker should be a lot better as well. The rest of that will be fine, but this, as it is, should be maximum of 200. I get that Sony still wants to charge a premium, but sorry, Xperia XA, it just doesn't work like this, and I will break this down. And if you dislike this video, think I am a Sony hater, do it, I have no problem with that. I'm way past over being too much concerned of what people think about me, because I deliver my honest opinion. And believe me one thing, the Xperia X performance review will be a lot more positive. Okay, until next time, bye.